Okay, let's talk a little bit about post-nuptial agreements. What is a post-nuptial agreement? Sometimes people call them pre-divorce settlement agreements, and what they're used for, and how you go about putting one together, and why they can be effective in actually promoting the reconciliation effort of a divorce that is, or a marriage that is struggling. So we have a lot of people that come in and are always in that dilemma when they come to visit us as to whether or not they should move forward with a divorce or they should move forward with some kind of marriage counseling. And many people that come to our office have been through marriage counseling and they've had limited or bad results. In fact, I have found that when I first opened my practice, I would send people to marriage counselors when they weren't sure if they were ready to get divorced, and more times than not, they would come back 3 to 6 months later, and not only were they not in a better place, they were oftentimes in a worse place. It was almost as if the marriage counseling was causing more damage than good. And there's some studies out there that show that marriage counseling actually is having an adverse effect on the reconciliation process, and that it's even causing more damage and causing more people to actually get divorced faster. And there's various reasons and theories as to why that is. The purpose of this video cast is to talk a little bit about how we can overcome some of the hurdles that are causing marriage counseling or communication to coaching to not work. The biggest hurdle that we found is by the time you are in a divorce mediator's office and talking or considering getting a divorce, things have deteriorated to a point to where you've usually said and done some things that are sometimes so damaging that it's very difficult for you to focus on any positive energy that would allow you to move forward with reconciliation. You've made some threats. You've said some things, done some things that are very hard to forget. And when you have the fear of the divorce or the fear of what the divorce life is going to be like for you, maybe you're afraid that you're not going to see your children, maybe as much as you'd like. Maybe you're afraid that you're not going to be financially stable. All of these fears are weighing heavily on you. At the same time, you're considering reconciling, and the person that has oftentimes caused those fears is your soon-to-be ex-spouse. They're the ones that have made these threats. So here you are trying your hardest to stay together with them, and yet all you can think about is all these threats that they've made, and it just seems to be a never-ending cycle that sabotages any chance of really giving the reconciliation process any kind of chance to succeed. To prevent that, or to overcome that, we strongly encourage couples to consider doing a pre-divorce mediation agreement or a post-nuptial agreement. The process is almost virtually the same as a normal divorce. You would sit down with a mediator, you would go through everything that is discussed in a normal divorce, and you would actually sign a document that is legally binding that says, in the event that we were to divorce, here is how we would handle the children. Here is how we would handle the retirements. Here is how we would handle the debts, the assets, the home, spousal support, child support. Anything that is discussed in a divorce would be discussed in a post-nuptial agreement, and it would be signed, and the courts recognize those as legally binding contracts. Then you can simply put that document on a shelf, and because there's no chance of any more continued threats because you've already agreed on everything, you can't threaten each other with anything because you've already made those agreements in place. And those agreements would be binding should you choose to move forward with a divorce. It's very simple to convert that post-nuptial agreement into a divorce agreement. It's just a simple document process. The positive effect that it has is because you can't threaten each other anymore, it frees up all that negative energy and allows you to truly focus on a potential reconciliation effort that is authentic, that is not going to be laced with all of the fear that the divorce may have. It also has a very profound effect on the divorce process should you choose to divorce in the future. Let's say you go through the post-nuptial mediation process. You put an agreement together, you attempt to reconcile, and that attempt doesn't work. At least now, when you choose to divorce, you're going to have those terms already agreed upon. It's not going to be as contentious. There's a much greater chance that when you put that postnuptial agreement together, you were in a much better state of mind. You were probably a little bit more tender, a little bit more open-minded, less desirous to be punitive and want to punish that other person. And therefore, the agreement's likely going to be based in less negative emotion, and there's going to be a greater chance that you'll actually be able to live up to the agreement. Therefore, converting it into a divorce is a very simple process. Number one, you'll be bound to all of those terms, so you can't conveniently decide that you're going to go and change your mind now because you've signed a document that says these are the ways, these are the things that you have agreed on in the divorce, making the divorce process a lot simpler. You can avoid attorneys, you can avoid all of the cumbersome court hearings. A mediator can sit down and simply convert that postnuptial agreement over to an actual divorce decree with relatively little effort, and it's quite easy to do, and it can save you a lot of time and money. If you're not sure that divorce is the right answer, if you're really frustrated that you don't believe that marriage counseling is working, consider the reasons that I've just said as being primary reasons that it potentially is sabotaging your reconciliation effort, and spend the time and money to put together a postnuptial agreement. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. It will give your marriage the best chance of reconciling, and if it doesn't reconcile, it will give you the very best chance to have a peaceable and amicable divorce process so that you can move on in the next chapter of your life. We are the first mediation firm that started doing postnuptial agreements. We specialize in them. We are good at them. We can get them done usually in less than a month, and they are very easy to convert into an actual divorce decree if that's the decision that you decide to move forward with. Hopefully that helps you in your decision to decide to move forward with a divorce or move forward with reconciliation, whether it be through marriage counseling or communication coaching.